All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case. We've got lots and lots of news to cover today. Kamala Harris's racism, the recent statements by one of the Chechen leaders over in Russia with regards to tactical nuclear weapons, an incoming potential banking crisis that could be a problem. Credit Suisse and Deutsche Bank having some issues there, unfortunately. We'll make sure that we're live on Rumble, though, before we begin. Please stand by. Yeah, we're live on Rumble. I see chat's working. By the way, again, as usual, link in the description on both platforms, YouTube and Rumble. It is pinned at the top of chat on YouTube itself. It's time to sink Ataturk again into the ocean. Coordinates are there. It'll take you directly to that. Take the light blue pixels that you see, and we'll sink Ataturk and turn him into a lake again. What happened is that the other day, Clankton decided to withdraw essentially from the Balkan region because the Turks clearly are a match for all of their neighbors at the same time. Unfortunately, Aaron, the streamer, decided to take a victory lap, which is hilarious because we literally pixeled in your entire fucking country at one point, and then withdrew. Perhaps unwisely, I guess we should have just continued to make more ocean. And we're still getting griefed by Turkish players on Pixel Planet. Well, there's no peace accord possible at this point, so we're just going to destroy Ataturk, which we've done, I think, 3 times before. That's going to be a fun time. So everyone take that link. I do ask for all clankers to do that. You're already watching the stream anyway. Just have it open in a separate tab, and we can do some fucking damage. A few hundred people should do it. It'll be interesting. We are, after all, technically the largest faction on Pixel Planet. Vonk, what is your stance on Tool? Yeah, Tool's all right. Not a huge fan of that kind of music, generally speaking. And just a second here. Let me make sure all my tabs are working as well. Usually important. Jake, greetings from Rutland, Stick. Saw your video this morning, and I'm happy to report that new Kong Chow is still open, but Yellow Deli is not that good. I like the Yellow Deli. Have you ever tried their hot dog? They've got this big-ass hot dog, and you have to ask for the ketchup, by the way. One unfortunate thing. I think it's delicious myself. Run in part by a bit of a cult. A bunch of the Christian, I don't know that they're end-timer Christians. They're more hippie-trippy than anything else. They sort of live a communalistic lifestyle, but they have good food, so that's all good. I will be watching on Pixel Planet as Ataturk slowly sinks into the ocean. I see some people are using the medium blue of Greece. No, you're supposed to use the lighter blue. Look at his mustache right now. I'll pixel in a bunch of it. Well, I've got to load the captcha first. I'll do that. It's just a sec. Yeah, I just pixeled in a line of it. It's that lighter blue color. We're going to sink Ataturk back into the briny deep. There are several hundred Turkish players right now trying to restore and defend it. I don't think that they have the manpower necessary to do so. Hey, Aaron there. It was a bad idea to take a victory lap and then immediately leave the server, having claimed that you did your job. Whoops, that one's going to hurt. We'll sink all of Turkey into the ocean over the coming days. It'll be funny. Don't bother defending Clankton, by the way, unless you're doing something Ouroboros related. We're going to go full offense and wage a war of attrition against people who apparently don't understand what a white peace actually is. Cold Summer 91. We will get a no red scare at some point when normies realize what's going on at schools. It won't lead to a red scare. What it will lead to is people taking more of an active approach in their kids' education. Hopefully that means more homeschooling. Fuck the public school system. It is Marxism. The Landlord Harassment Channel. I've joined Rumble. Hashtag shameless plug. Vonk. Also, here's $2 more for an energy drink. Yeah, I got a bunch of them this morning. I'm going to get a bunch more later, by the way. Not sure what I'm cooking for dinner tonight. Sky Wuzzy, long live Turkey, Aaron better than you. Yeah, I saw after his victory lap a bunch of people from Turkey attempting to troll me on Twitter. It does not impress me one bit, just to be clear. We have superior manpower, you know. Here's the problem with the Turkish streamers that have been dogpiling Pixel Planet. Most of them are not dedicated towards this kind of daily streaming thing. And so it's like once or twice a week. Clankton can do it every single day of the week. Let's see who has more stamina. That'll be very interesting. But yeah, take that fucking link. We're going to teach him a fucking lesson. Ataturk right now is slowly turning into a pond, I see. So get on there and we'll have some fun. Anyway, we'll get to the news. We'll get back to that. Russian forces retreat from strategic Donetsk city a day after Moscow's annexation of the region. Yes, the Russians have retreated from Lyman, which I believe is the name of the dude with the Freddie Mercury mustache on the Garfield cartoons, by the way. But that doesn't really bother me or interest me in any way. Okay, the Ukrainians have scored a victory. Maybe the Russians do tomorrow. It goes back and forth, and there's a lot of malleable borders there. What does concern me is what the Chechen leader said. Ramzan Kadyrov, leader of the Chechen Republic, in an angry statement slamming Russian generals in the wake of the withdrawal from Lyman, said it was time for the Kremlin to make use of every weapon at its disposal. In my personal opinion, we need to take more drastic measures, including declaring martial law in the border territories. You don't even hold the entire contiguous area of those regions, but okay. And using low-yield nuclear weapons, Kadyrov said on his Telegram channel. There is no need to make every decision with the Western American community in mind. Here's the thing, and I pointed this out this morning. That would be insane, and I'll tell you why. Russia has officially annexed these 4 particular regions within Ukraine. Okay, so they're claiming it's their territory. What Kadyrov is suggesting is nuking Russia's own territory, therefore, in order to make a point in the military sense. I would point out again that low-yield nuclear weapons are still much higher yield than the atomic weapons that were used in the 1940s. We're talking about 100 plus kilotons, generally speaking. If you consider that low yield, then so be it. It's still going to glass an entire city. If you deploy one of those weapons on a population in order to get rid of a bunch of Ukrainian troops, glass an entire tank column or something, it ensures mass civilian casualties. There's no other possibility there. And it would bring widespread condemnation. By the way, Putin could score a win here, not in the sense of military strategy, but in the sense of diplomacy. If he were to come out right now and say, well, Kadyrov should, shut up, we're not interested in using these weapons, he can go down several routes. He can say the Russian people are interested in peace. These are our territories. No, we would never use nuclear weapons on them. That's crazy. He could go down the peacemaker's path. Or he could say something to the effect of, well, I mean, we're already winning. We're not concerned about the Ukrainian forces. Why the hell would we resort to nuclear weapons? It almost seems like a setup and knockdown sort of shtick, and we'll see what happens. But keep in mind, of course, the Chechen leader is not Vladimir Putin or one of the oligarchs that, generally politically hold sway within Moscow. This is a more local warlord. So I don't think anything comes of it, but the mere fact that it would be mentioned in a serious sense by someone who does have some clout, some power within Russia should be concerning to people. I realize that NATO is upping the ante by becoming a de facto ally of Ukraine and pumping it full of weapons and money and manpower, but it's an unofficial alliance. It doesn't necessarily trigger the kind of things that would generally lead to a nuclear response under Russian doctrine. We'll have to wait and see. Casey Bengry, listening quietly while deer hunting in Michigan, ready for November to vote Gretchen Whitmer out of office. While I think that Whitmer will hold on to her job, it's close enough that you definitely should not just go vote, but knock on doors in the meantime. Take a day out of your schedule, if you can bother to do so. Get some friends together and go knock on doors. Yeah, Stixel Planet. That's effectively what it's become. Yeah. Ataturk's not looking so good anymore. He looks like he has monkeypox now. Stephen 13, I know a lot about the Soviet and Russian military. They do have low-yield nukes, like nuclear artillery. They would hit logistics behind the line. Yeah, and then where does the radiation go is the problem. There would be a little bit of an issue, I think, if that were to actually happen. By the way, the U.S. considered using low-yield nuclear systems in Korea and thought better of it because of the diplomatic reprisals. We'll hope that the Russians have the same restraint. Otherwise, you've unfortunately got a situation where the U.S. will probably begin mass producing low-yield nukes as well, and you'll see a further proliferation of smaller systems. It's only 50 kilotons. It's only 2 or 3 times bigger than the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima or Nagasaki. It's nothing to worry about, everyone. Everything's perfectly fine. If you want to constrain, by the way, DC's warmongering, you shouldn't support the concept of the Russians deploying a low-yield weapon in Ukraine. That would be a problem now, wouldn't it? 890, we will attack if you continue to attack. Go ahead. That's perfectly fine. Clankdom has superior manpower to the Turkish streamers because they're not dedicated streamers in the same sense. I haven't even made a Pixel Planet stream, by the way. I haven't even pulled the nuclear option. I'm just throwing it out there and putting links in the description on news streams. So we'll see what happens. I think you'll find that you're outmatched if I decide to up the ante in Kadyrov style. Next news story. Obama judge slaps down Stacey Abrams election lawsuit in state Biden labeled Jim Crow 2.0. Yes, Jim Crow Joe going full hypocrite, by the way, on that one. The federal judge ruled the Georgia law is not perfect but does not violate the Constitution. This law effectively states that the polling places that are set are fine, and you have to have ID to show up and vote. You have to show a form of ID. I had some moron earlier claiming that it was a poll tax because it required people to pay for an ID. Well, then why don't you just push the concept of ID being free or abolished? That would be more meaningful, now wouldn't it? It's not a poll tax. It's telling people the kind of ID that you get anyway. If you want to drive a car, if you want to fucking get a job, if you want to do fucking literally anything, you have to show that in order to vote, to make sure that you're not 6 feet under or incapable of voting. You're a felon or something like that. You're under 18. What exactly is the problem with this? The law was determined not to violate the Constitution. More meaningful, though, is who made that determination. It was an Obama appointee, not a Trump appointee. Stacey Abrams, if it were under a Trump justice, she'd already have 10 tweets complaining about this because she was one of the litigants here. Stacey Abrams in Georgia running against Kemp for the gubernatorial slot. We'll talk about how that affects the race odds, by the way, in a moment. She would have been complaining about the fact that activist MAGA courts that were appointed by an illegitimate president that was never elected because, you're allowed to question the 2016 election. It was a big problem. This evil activist Trump judge decided to throw out the case because, they're racist. They want black people not to be able to vote and all the other shtick that she's talking about with regards to that. But the thing is, U.S. District Judge Steve Jones was appointed by Barack Obama. A judge appointed by a black Democrat just told Stacey Abrams to shut the fuck up because her case has no merit. Well, that's it then. How does this affect the race for the gubernatorial slot and possibly the Senate slot, by the way, in Georgia? It means Stacey Abrams has officially lost. She has been behind Kemp consistently in every poll. The aggregate puts her even further behind. It's like a 7-point lead for Kemp. It's insurmountable at this point in the race. It might affect the Walker versus Warnock race as well. That one is on a knife's edge. On any given week, Warnock or Walker are ahead by less than a half a point in some cases. If you include a GOP skew, that is in the final result, the GOP outperforms slightly, which would be historically normal. Herschel Walker potentially wins. The only real buffer against that, the only bulwark they could make was to try to allow people to vote who are not eligible to vote. Hundreds of thousands of people potentially who cannot produce ID because, they're potentially not legally allowed to vote at all, would be showing up at the polls. But that won't happen because the election law was found to not violate the Constitution. I do not believe that they are going to try to escalate the case to the Supreme Court because they know that they'll get their asses handed to them. So, yeah. Stacey Abrams has officially lost against Brian Kemp as of this day. That was her only shot. Her only shot was to get a bunch of people in there who aren't actually allowed to vote at all in order to overcome a significant gap in the voting so far, and it's not going to happen. Cold Summer 91, if we do have World War III, we may get a Red Scare after that. Red Scares tend to happen after World Wars. No, if we get a World War III, the Red Scare will be all of the diseases crepitating under your flesh. You will get cholera and tuberculosis, and most people will die of disease, not of the nuclear blast themselves. I don't know why liberals have gotten to the point where they're such sellouts that they actually support the idea. Dark World XL. What is your opinion of the van and trailer life to avoid the high rent and in general? I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't want to live in a trailer or a van. Apache Senpai, I'm from Georgia and have never had an issue with voting. It takes less than 5 minutes to show your ID and fill out the form. I assumed everywhere did that. Yeah, their idea is that in certain communities, in certain urban communities especially, you have more packed polling places. It takes longer than 5 minutes. But who the fuck gives a damn? Who cares if it takes 15 minutes instead of 5 minutes to get through the line? It's not exactly an onerous, burdensome process still. LMAO, we're fixed or fucked. Spender Clip did great for 0010110 TikTok takeover. Interesting. Yeah, Ataturk is turning into a lake already. Keep it up, clankers. We'll show them who's... They didn't even bother to repair their entire coast, by the way. There's still a chunk missing out of Turkey. With all of the people, it took them 3 different streamers over the course of 24 hours. Not only were griefing us, but also trying to repair Turkey, and they still didn't get the job done. God, give me a couple of clones of myself, and all of Turkey would be gone by the end of the fucking stream, dude. Hilarious. So yeah, take the link in the description or pinned at the top of chat on YouTube. We're pouring in. I see a lot of damage being done to poor Ataturk there. But we need more manpower. I figure a couple hundred more people need to get aboard. You're watching the stream anyway. Just go on to Pixel Planet. Do me a solid right now. Do me a favor and just fucking lay waste to the middle of Turkey. That'd be funny. Dual Sticks a Solid. I provide you with content every single day. Live streams, one-off videos, sometimes blog posts, books, and everything else. Can't do it alone, dude. Mike K, I thought you were now working with Turkey. Well, what happened is, unfortunately, the Turks breached the peace treaty within a few hours. So I said, fuck it. We're just going to wage a war of attrition and slowly grind them down. I have a feeling that I can mention Pixel Planet in streams every day, longer than Aaron can make one-off streams every single day, because he seems to be like the one a week, kind of like the Zoomer creator thing with heavy editing and all that shit. And so it's less efficient, ultimately, at the end of the day. We already crushed that one Turkish TikTok streamer there. Can't remember what username he was using. He fell, by the way. He gave up, I think, and now they've got a couple of others. Steph Colonel. Every time Abrams loses, her bank account wins. Yeah, that's the point. She's going to be a perpetual also-ran sort of candidate. Like Beto O'Rourke. He's doing the same thing. The Grizzly. What do you think of the Texas protest? Was that organic or AstroTurf? I tend to think the latter simply because it continues the reparations meme. I don't know, actually. Stephen Robinson. Hi, Sticks. I lived with the Yellow Deli in Nelson for 3 years. They are most certainly an end-timers. They are also a global organization with a cargo ship. Yes, I know that they have a presence in parts of South America as well, where they get their yerba, the yerba mate tea that they all drink grown. LMAO, we're fucked. I'm using 0010110 to turn TikTokers into clankers. Excellent. I will not have a TikTok channel, though, most likely, because I have an attention span longer than that of a gnat. Aaron C., I'm glad Kadyrov has no real Russian power. OMG puppies. Ironically, if Kiev recognizes the 4 districts as Russian territory, Ukraine might be eligible for NATO membership. Still a dangerous move. Yes, that is the other point. NATO will not admit a potential member that's currently under invasion. It's against its own articles. But if they were to say, hey, all right, Russia, go ahead, fucking take these territories and cede them to Russia, they're no longer being invaded at that time and can be accepted same day. Then you have to deal with Erdogan, ironically, in Turkey. Maybe we should be punishing the Pixel Planet Turkish, the Ottoman Empire there for that too, for fucking around with NATO to try to get more money. Why don't you balance your own fucking economy? JB Hicks, hello from Las Vegas. Love your channel. Lev Polyakov, good morning, Sticks. Speaking of Turkey, I really enjoyed the last Break the Rules stream we did with Jessica Burbank of the Young Turks. Yeah, I think it was enjoyable for me as well. A little bit less for her. BW, I get nervous when the commies in Arizona and Pennsylvania won't debate. I know Fetterman has, but just now makes me think they have faith in honkening. With Fetterman, it's because he had a stroke. Now, there's a simple explanation for it. He didn't want to debate at first because he knows he'll lose the debate. Then he realized if I don't debate, I lose anyway. I might as well just fucking take a flying fuck at a rolling donut. As far as Carrie Lake down in Arizona, I think she's got it in the bag. I wouldn't worry too much about Arizona. Jim Morrison, Groucho is not a relative of Carl, which is obvious as he had a job and a sense of humor. Alejandro Munoz, Sticks, cheers on your debate 2 days ago. What patience you have. I found it hard to listen to her and her terminal case of Dunning-Kruger. Because of that, have some Trudeau money. Yeah, she was a little bit long-winded. I mentioned to Lev that in future appearances, it should be more, lightning fast, round sort of thing, like maybe a minute, minute and a half. Banter back and forth to respond, because otherwise you just get overloaded with 7 or 8 fucking points at a time, and that's just not the way I debate, number one. And number two, it's not as good of a debate format, number two. Great for discussions, that's perfectly fine. But if you're, talking to somebody who's going to try to be obtuse, which she clearly did, it needs to be much faster. It needs to move on faster. Shane Moufali, starting to think Zelensky has blackmail on the administration and the lib elite, which is why they're shoveling funny money towards them. Capitalist Pig, hey Sticks, my fiance has brain surgery tomorrow morning to remove a tumor. Any words of wisdom? Don't worry too much. Yeah. You must remain calm. Cam2425IA. Oh, and by the way, good luck. I hope everything works out well. If you can't get off your fat, lazy, koof-scarred ass to go vote, you don't deserve it. Agreed. Some things you should still have to earn in this world. Yeah, I don't think there should be any onerous burden on voting, but the thing is, showing a fucking ID and showing up in person is not an onerous burden. I do support one liberal proposition, which is to make Election Day a federal holiday. Nobody should be working that day unless they're like an EMT or something, and those people should have expanded access to mail-in ballots. Problem solved. Everyone's capable of voting. Why don't we make the IDs free instead of charging people for a piece of plastic anyway? Aaron C. I also doubt Hungary would let Ukraine in with the way they've been treated lately. I think there would be a few member states with questions, honestly. Yeah, it won't just be Turkey. There are others that have reservations. Cindy Drellick, broke my arm in July. Going back to work, so no more super chats. Your live streams have been my sanity. Told my PT therapist that. Plugging your channel while grunting in pain and gym? Priceless. Thank you, Sticks, so much. Well, thank you very much for that. Hope it continues to heal up well. Lizard Party. Who is your favorite R&D currently in Congress? You can't choose Rand. No Rand Paul. Who are my favorites that are in Congress? I think Pelosi is my favorite Democrat because she constantly shits all over herself and makes a fool of herself, and it's very, very funny. My favorite Republican is Mitch McConnell because he does the same to the neocons. I don't know. I don't have many nice things to say about most members of Congress because most of them are dross. I see Ataturk rapidly disappearing here, even though the Turks are attempting to continuously rebuild it. We need more clankers, though. We're going to need several hundred people in order to get this done and make a nice big lake right in the middle of Anatolia. So again, you can take the link in the description or at the top of chat. It will take you right to the Ataturk monument. Just take that light blue that you see there that looks like the ocean and continue pixeling it in. I'm interested in seeing how much progress we can make over the coming half hour or so. Scrooge McClank. Friday's debate was great. It was especially amusing watching Burbank fail to defend herself when asked about the Young Turks union and her contractor status. Yes, she's immune to that because she's a contractor. I think that they should be forced not to use contractual labor. You should be part of the union, or you're not allowed to go on the Young Turks anymore. I think it'd be good for the world and take care of some hypocrisy. Next news story, Kamala on Hurricane Ian relief. The Biden administration will focus on giving resources based on equity by directing funds to communities of color. This will probably end up like the race-based farm aid and race-based restaurant aid bills that Biden attempted to put forward. They tried to take spending and give it to people based on the color of their skin. Those were both prevented by the federal court system. They said you can't do that. You can't say to one restaurant owner, you suffered the same calamity under lockdownerism, you owe a big chunk of money, but you can't have any relief because you're white or because you're male or something. That was injuncted. Farm-based relief was injuncted. I have a feeling that this will also be injuncted. But it's red meat to the base. Of course, if you are Kamala Harris, your fans are predominantly, they're not going to be waspish, white male individuals. They're not people in the suburbs. You're trying to play up to a core fan base that you desperately need to come out in large numbers during the midterms. So urban populations, etc. And so you say to the people of Florida in those populations, hey, don't worry, the check is in the mail. Just like with the student loan debt kerfuffle, you're probably not going to get any student loan debt relief. Why do you think that they're waiting so long? He could have signed an EO yesterday on the topic, but he keeps dragging his heels. What are you waiting for? A Republican majority to ram it through in the House so that it gets blocked by the Republican House? Because that is what will happen, just to be clear. You're probably not getting student loan debt relief. You're probably not getting this hurricane relief, I suppose. Once it's injuncted, they won't even bother trying again. They'd rather send that money to Ukrainians. Sparky, watch the Duran for the very best in geopolitical news and commentary. Don't fall into the intellectual trap of letting legacy media set basic premises. So yeah, Kamala is a racist. She does not like white people. The idea of a white person getting any money for hurricane aid to her is an abysmal idea. Absolutely terrible. By the way, I would like to point out to people that Turkey has been effectively banned from chat over on Pixel Planet. Again, link in the description on both platforms. I've also pinned it at the top of chat on YouTube. I do ask that you take that link. We're sinking Ataturk into the ocean. His face is now effectively a lake. We've got to spread out to bigger and better things. I've thought about making like a 4-hour live stream, just sitting there shooting the shit while griefing Pixel Planet. I would record it myself, but there are reasons not to do that. Mainly that there are swastikas and anime porn all over the goddamn map, and I don't want any problems. Aaron seems to have no problem with this. He doesn't see the potential issue with YouTube's TOS, I suppose. I think he streams on TikTok too. I don't know about their TOS. Their TOS is don't criticize China too much, I think, so I don't think he has a problem. Nighthawk, Sticks, do you think if Trump is reelected in 2024, will the deep state JFK him? Do you think they will allow him another 4 years? They may try, if they can't stop him any other way. BW, they can't see their own arrogance, why everyone hates them. SP Elite, new tech exclusive of the Texas governor debate, if you can. Yeah, I didn't watch the debate, actually, between Beto and Abbott, because it's a foregone conclusion in that one what was going to happen. I'm looking forward more to Fetterman v. Oz and also Warnock v. Herschel Walker. Those ones will be funny, because Herschel Walker is self-proclaimedly not that well-spoken. That one will be funny. Oz versus Fetterman. Fetterman had a stroke a few months ago. He's not particularly well-spoken. That one will be a load of laughs, I'm sure. With Beto versus Abbott, it was just going to be a bunch of dry, boring shit anyway. And at the end of the debate, 99% of people had already preconceived who won before they even saw a single word uttered. So it's pointless. There was no reason to talk about it. Friendly Neighborhood Sawyer, name a new song within the last year that you enjoyed. I can't, to tell the truth. João Santos, saw your debate with Burbank. She's so ignorant and arrogant as well. She's doing the tappy toad sort of bracelet jingling HR woman thing right now on Twitter, actually, trying to claim that she owned me somehow. It's very cringy, very funny to see. Poor young Turks individual. Next, judge overrules special master order for Trump to give final objections on FBI search inventory. Judge overrules special master in Trump Mar-a-Lago raid case on property inventory details. Yes, Eileen Cannon has overruled Deary, who was appointed special master. He was one of the people put forward by Trump himself. This is a good move. It is legally coherent, and it was necessary, and I'll say why. Liberals don't understand this. They still think that it's Judge Cannon gunning for, defending Trump, and that she's pulling out all the stops to shield him from repercussions for his highly illegal actions. Here's the problem. The special master, which was requested by Trump, is literally only there to go through the materials page by page, minus the things marked classified, which are set off to the side, to see what is or is not acceptable to continue to be gone through by the DOJ. It's over 100,000 pages of total material, by the way, including over 10,000 unclassified documents. At the end of the day, virtually all of those things will be discluded from continuing to be searched through by the DOJ. They have nothing to do with the Presidential Records Act. They have nothing to do with classified intel. They have nothing to do with espionage. They are Trump's personal records. They are his private property. The only purpose to having a special master, and the reason Trump wanted one, is to try to preempt the DOJ into looking into those materials further that aren't pertinent to their original warrant. The fact that Deary made the crazy call to try to get Trump, in a preemptive sense, to declare his justification for the declaration on these documents being declassified or something, makes no sense. If you end up with an actual case against him, which I'm still skeptical will happen, that would be a real big problem. You're effectively forcing Trump to give an upfront defense that then can be countermanded potentially by evidence. You may say that's fine because that defense should hold if the evidence holds with the defense being made. That's not the way the justice system works. That's not the way that legal cases work. It'd be grounds for a mistrial. And so the DOJ will, in the end, probably not gain access to most of those materials. Some of it's not even documents. Some of it's clothing. Clothing is listed on the inventory list. I noticed that Melania's nightgown is listed as inventory, but nuclear secrets are not. The liberals are living 1,000 fantasies when it comes to this particular case. Travis Tolbert, Sticks, I completely agree that tactical battlefield use of nuclear weapons is absolutely insane. NATO and the Russians still have nuclear artillery that are in the 1 to 5 kiloton range. I believe the U.S. discontinued the use of the Davy Crockett device, if I remember correctly. And I don't think there's anything comparable in Russia. Now, they claim that they may have made briefcase nukes, but they've never been deployed, purportedly. When we talk about tactical nukes, we're talking about shorter range missile systems that have 25 to 50, maybe 100 kilotons of blast. That's still a major ass blast. We killed 100,000 people in Hiroshima with a weapon that was around that same lower end of range. So we're not talking about something that is limited. We're talking about the use of small scale, that being a very relative term, nuclear weapons. Eaters of dead. What the heck is happening in Alaska with Murkowski? We have to get her out. No polls seem to be happening there. Yes, we've only gotten one poll with regards to her versus Shabaka up there. I don't know why they haven't got more polls. They're not watching the race close. I mean, I can't even make a prediction about it. We've only got one poll and it showed a 50-50. So next one, U.S. is overreaching in Ukraine. All empires overreach themselves. Well, I would maybe slightly disagree with that in the context. Here's what I would say. It is a terrible idea for NATO countries, which are not directly allied with Ukraine. It's not a military alliance of any kind, to continue pumping weapons into a country that for years was labeled one of the most corrupt on earth in order to own the Russians. It seems that they are holding their own. We've already given them boatloads of weapons. If they can't make do with what's already been given there, and supposedly the Russians are being ground down and they're using 50-year-old AK-47s that are covered in rust and don't even fire, and they're being given bolt-action rifles, and their food supply is low, and they've run out of tanks, and their air support is being beaten heavily. If that's true, if the Russians really are doing so poorly, why continue to pump weapons into Ukraine? Shouldn't we measure it off so that they're capable of winning, but then there's not too much left over afterwards to go to terrorists? This was the problem in Afghanistan. The Soviets invaded under Carter, and Carter and then Ronald Reagan began arming the area with huge numbers of heavy weapons. They blew the shit out of the Soviets, but then they had so many weapons and shit left over afterwards that they just started selling them to third parties to make money. A crate of hand grenades years ago, I saw someone had gone to Afghanistan. They said for like $40, you can get a full crate worth of hand grenades. You can buy a rocket launcher for $100 over there. Nobody gives a shit. They're as common as they're everywhere. Not just, actual assault rifles and machine guns and stuff, but explosives, missiles and rockets and shit like that. Therefore, shouldn't we learn from that history and the resulting aftermath, 9/11, etc., and not do the same thing in Ukraine? You can oppose the Russian invasion. You can think that it's fine to sell the Ukrainians weapons. I have no problem with that. I think that U.S. firms should be able to sell weapons to literally anyone in the world, with or without the permission of the government involved. That's fine. I don't care if you have to run them in an illegal, unmarked submarine in the middle of the night to arm a bunch of North Koreans. You're making money. It's capitalism. You made the weapons. They want the weapons. That's fine. Long as the U.S. public can buy the same things, by the way. But we're giving it to them to the tune of tens and tens of billions of dollars, inflaming the situation. They're now, people talking about using tactical nukes. Don't you think at some point we ought to reevaluate the situation and our original expectations of what was going to happen there? I am right. Jessica outdebated you. You got owned. Yeah, no, I definitely take the win with regards to that debate. It wasn't even close. No humble bragging required. The Grizzly, what kind of political insanity will we see after the midterms? Does the political climate calm down, or do things keep pushing off a cliff? I don't think we're going to go off a cliff, but things are going to stay edgy, especially in the economic sense. We're already seeing, we'll be talking about Credit Suisse and Deutsche Bank as well. Some banks are beginning to show potential foreshocks of a Lehman Brothers style failure. If that happens, all hell will break loose as far as the world economy goes. ZBman100, I just hope all this pushes Bethesda to finally make Fallout 5. One based in Russia would be novel at the least. No, it has to be based in the US. I think they should base it in San Francisco, and one of the factions should be a cult that wants you to drill into the fault line there and explode an atomic weapon to try to level the city or something. I think that'd be novel. Imagine blowing up Megaton, but much, much bigger. Disco Stew, Sticks, what's up with your background? Are you being strong-armed by the Scandinavian gourd cartels? A couple of these are pumpkins. I think that, in theory, I could open them up and eat them. Not 100% sure, though. Michael Cricklow, do you drink alcohol? If so, what kind? I try to avoid that, having struggled with alcoholism. Latin Hero 1880. In your opinion, what is the best edition of Manly Hall's Sacred Teaching of all ages? How many editions are there? Like 20 of them? I don't have a preference. I like some of Manly Hall's works, though. Not my favorite. I think Rudolf Steiner is top tier as far as I'm concerned. A.E. Waite, Richard Cavendish with Black Arts. It's why I always encourage people who are wanting to get into the study of the occult. Black Arts by Richard Cavendish is one of the best works. SP Elite, the gardening tool you debated seems very salty. Yeah, lots of salt on that one. Alex Bogey, since you don't support Russians in Ukraine rejoining with Russia, what were we supposed to do? Bend the knee and learn Ukrainian? We won an election and had our guy get overthrown by the Euromaidan and CIA. Yeah, I always hear the CIA mentioned when a foreign state that's not aligned with Western policy ends up destabilizing. Then I noticed that the Venezuelans tried to claim the same thing, and normally I just chuckle at the claim. You are capable, I would assume, of going about your business under that civic structure as you wish. The majority of people in Ukraine do speak Russian anyway. The fact that you speak the same language doesn't mean you're the same country, now does it? That'd be like saying the majority of the United States should be gobbled up by the UK. I'm sure that they would love that, because then they could get to trying to disarm people of their uber scary sporting rifles. I don't think it'd go over so well. Sparky, Sticks, as the fearless leader of Clank Nation, next time you see Ursula von der Leyen at those cocktail parties, you world leaders go to, see if you can get her to be a clanker instead of a globalist. Opinionated junkie. If I was a communist, I'd put my shoe on my head. You wouldn't own shoes if you were a communist. You'd have to go barefoot into the fields. Twisted Gamer, Sticks, did you hear that U.S. news sources are now claiming that Russia did indeed attack their own pipeline? Also, what reason would Russia have to murder Ukrainians fleeing towards the Russian front? Well, I think that in the crossfire, civilians often get killed. I have seen the news stories with regards to that. And I would point out that there's literally no evidence one way or another who blew the Nord Stream pipelines. But they're presenting it as though there's evidence, which is expected. Keep on pixeling in Ataturk over there. We're making good progress. Link in the description on both platforms, as well as pinned at the top of chat on YouTube. Take the light blue pixels and we will create a little lake in the middle of Anatolia. It'll be funny. People, one of the Greek players is asking if it's a bot doing this. No, that's not a bot. That's several hundred people joining from this stream. You can also grief chat if you want. You have to make an account there, and it can be funny. All of the Turkish players have been muted because they continued to spam incessantly to the point where it was fucking with the server. Next news story. Washington, D.C. police officers under investigation after confiscating guns without making arrests. 2 sergeants and 5 officers with the department have been placed on non-contract status. Metro Police Department Chief Robert J. Conti III announced Friday on an investigation into 7 Washington, D.C. police officers and supervisors within the department who confiscated illegal guns without making arrests. In these cases, the suspect was not arrested, and the suspect should have been arrested, Conti said during a press conference Friday evening. The firearm was taken and placed into evidence. However, the suspect was allowed to go free. And that's not the way we conduct business in the Metropolitan Police Department. Now, keep in mind, of course, in D.C., most guns are illegal. It's a leftoid enclave that operates sort of like a semi-autonomous city-state, which is kind of what it is when you really think about it. So it's a particular district rather than an actual state. It's funny that they're more concerned about the fact that individuals were not imprisoned or brought in for questioning when the guns were seized than the fact that if they're not under charge, they're not suspected, I guess, of any crime because they weren't taken in, that their Second Amendment rights were violated. Are you claiming that these individuals were felons, or are you claiming that these individuals had their gun in the wrong place or the wrong kind of gun? Maybe their magazine had too many bullets. It sounds like the latter. This is a Second Amendment issue, but they're treating it as a routine issue into conduct by the cops with regards to whether they actually hauled somebody in to question them in the first place. I find it very funny. It's very concerning. João Santos, were you always so articulate? Does writing help? I've got some old videos on YouTube. I like to think that I was always reasonably articulate. But yeah, I think writing does help. I have a grasp of Old English, including like really old English as well, like the ye old English. So it can be annoying sometimes editing works that include it, by the way, just to be clear. Saul Jimenez, what do you think would have to happen in the U.S. in order to rid ourselves of all this civil conflict? You need a unifying moment. So a war, hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I wonder what's being talked about in the media right now. Or something like that, or a massive civic movement like what we had in the early 20th century, especially in the 1910s and 20s. There was a huge civic movement and there were like fucking flags everywhere and everything was hyper patriotic, partially as a reaction to bomb throwing anarchists. We're beginning to see that again, and I think you'll have a similar reaction. Sparky, Ukraine wasn't even a country until a sentimental Khrushchev made it an honorary one in 1954. Western propaganda gave them the idea that they were a real country at the fall of the USSR. Well, they do seem to be a real country. Russia never countermanded the concept, by the way, until it annexed Crimea. So for that period of time, a country had been formed, not part of Russia, has its own government, originally had its own nukes, but gave them up. I bet they wish that they had kept some of those systems. Soleil333, your talk of lentils on and off finally had me try them. Have some caffeine funds for introducing me to something new. You had never had lentils before? Jesus. Very common food, cheap, filling, delicious. One of the best of all, actually. Lentil soup as a kid was always my favorite. Now I can make real lentil soup, and Liz does too, so I get spoiled. I don't have to eat it from the Campbell's can anymore. Sean R., can I touch your hair? You'd have to digitize your hand in order to do that, but if you can figure out how, then yeah, you can pet the fluffy head, I suppose. Yeah, Ataturk, his face is completely gone. They're still trying to repair it. By the way, Laughing over on Pixel Planet, who I guess is watching, I'm aware, yes, the Budapest Memorandum with regards to the nuclear situation in Ukraine. I am aware of that fact. I guess, though, that they wish that they had given him a couple of duds and accidentally kept a couple of the real ones aside. Boom. Yes, to everyone on Pixel Planet in chat, all of your countries are being invaded by Turkey too, so I want to see some further audience participation. If you want Clankdom to continue doing this, I'm going to need to see a little bit of love. Because it seems like oftentimes it's just a bunch of clankers whenever I stream, griefing Turkey, sinking chunks of it into the ocean, which Ataturk is now literally a lake. And some people don't really join in. And it's like, what? We pushed the Turks out of Bulgaria and Greece. We helped Italy. We've helped the Romanians before. We liberated Georgia and Kurdistan and Armenia at the same time. But we're just one faction. I don't do dedicated streams on the server at all. I'm going to need a little bit of more help. I mean, you got multiple Turkish. I mean, think about it this way. Aaron has 1 million subscribers. I've got 500,000. So, you're going to have to up the ante a little bit, I suppose. And there's 2 of them now. There's 2 Turkish streamers that are targeting Pixel Planet. They crashed the server the other day. They had probably a couple of thousand of people show up. Anyway, to all your clankers out there, you can always take the link in the description on YouTube or Rumble or pinned at the top of chat on YouTube and help out as well. Lucifer saying, help Kurdistan. Well, right now we're pixeling in Ataturk. Once we've distracted Turkey enough, other countries are free to restore their own territory. It also drives them crazy. We sunk Cyprus into the ocean in the matter of, 2 hours the other day. It was pretty great. Disclose Stu, since it's so hard to get a weapon in your country, you should train your cats to go for the throat. You can get weapons here. It's just, it is a lengthier process than most of the United States. Sort of like New York at this point, maybe. Hell Radio lives. Expecting DC to be concerned in a positive way with the Second Amendment is a futile proposition. Unfortunately, First Amendment concern is difficult enough. Exactly. Next news story. This is a funny gaffe. This is on the same order almost as Nancy Pelosi's statement the other day, where she said that migrants should stay down in Florida because the farmers need someone to pick the crops. And it was like, an ultimate plantation mom moment. She's sitting there crying because there might not be enough organically grown arugula in order for me to have my salad. What will my constituents think if the soybeans aren't picked on time? Or the avocados? Jesus Christ, talk about a real crisis. Joy Reid says DeSantis warning the looters in Ian's aftermath is like racist threat from segregationist. DeSantis told looters, I would not want to chance that if I were you, given that we're a Second Amendment state. I mean, every state's a Second Amendment state, but stand your ground, castle doctrine in Florida is pretty ironclad. Other than the red flag laws that DeSantis signed off on, which he shouldn't have done, should have stood your ground on that one, my dude. That's a demerit for you and Trump, by the way, as well as most other Republicans in the party. They have cucked a little bit on that particular issue for pragmatic purposes. You'll get yours when Bruin overturns it and you will get egg on your face. It'll be a fucking hilarious day, and that will happen. And people are pointing out, and even some liberals, by the way, are doing this. This is not just conservatives that are criticizing Joy Reid. She's the MSNBC anchor, the fat, sassy one. They're pointing out that you're essentially saying that looters are all going to be brown people. That's not a good look. Joy Reid is only going to get away with it with her core audience because she happens to be black. She is effectively stating that DeSantis was threatening the black community or something by saying that if you try to barge into someone's half-ruined home in the wake of the hurricane, law enforcement is out doing other things, the fire department's out doing other things, homeowners are out doing other things in some cases, that if you go into that home, there might be a very friendly person in there who happens to have an AR-15 or a Glock or a goddamn shotgun or something like that. What the fuck does that have to do about race? If I were in Florida, hurricane comes through and looting begins, I would defend my home. I don't give a shit who comes through the door. You think that their skin color is going to matter when they're macerated? They're going to be red afterwards, regardless of what race they were before. And that's the way that people tend to think in disaster situations. I remember I was watching just a couple of days ago Hurricane Andrew footage, and they were reporting. I can't remember which outlet it was. I think it was a local outlet affiliate. And they were reporting on the aftermath of Hurricane Andrew, of course, another legendarily large storm, huge loss of life, enormous number of homes destroyed, et cetera, when it went through. And there were people out there with guns, armed, defending their property. There was a lot of looting going on. There was no racial motive involved with this. There were plenty of shots of black home and business owners guarding their business with, you guessed it, firearms against looters. It's very, very funny. Joy Reid will get away with it, though, because she happens to be the right skin color where she's allowed to say bigoted and insane things. Same with Kamala Harris saying that they want to give subsidies to people in the wake of the hurricane based on their race. Cold Summer 91, how long do you think the birth rates will be low? Hopefully for long enough for more nature to come back. There's nothing wrong with the world having fewer people in it. Sparky, Ukraine never had its own nukes. Russia pulled them out before the dissolution of the USSR. Don't believe the legacy media's facts, Sticks. You know better. Ozzy's Robots. Morning, Sticks. Thanks to Ian being clean sand out of every nook and cranny of my house for 2 days now. Too delirious to think of a cogent argument, so I'll end by asking for a shameless plug of my channel. Thanks and peace out. Okay, a plug for Ozzy's Robots. Good luck cleaning all of the sand out of your home. I noticed that your electronics appear to still be working, so it couldn't have been that bad. It could be worse. You could have been closer to the shore. Of course, I don't know how close to the shore you are, but I'm assuming that your house didn't get swept away to the next block by the storm surge. Good. Everyone is happy. Take that sand. Yeah, take that just to insult the storm. Take the sand that you clean out and fill sandbags with it and keep it for the next storm, just as a chuckle. And put the Ouroboros on them. That'd be even funnier. Next and final news story. Credit Suisse at critical moment. Credit Suisse at critical moment as bank prepares for latest overhaul, according to its CEO. Credit Suisse Group AG's Chief Executive Officer Ulrich Körner said the bank is at a critical moment as it prepares for its latest overhaul while stressing its bank's strength. When you have to remind people that your bank is strong, that might be a little bit difficult to pass off on people. In the second carefully worded memo sent to reassure staff in as many weeks, Körner told employees not to confuse the day-to-day stock price performance with the Swiss firm's strong capital base and liquidity position. The shares are hovering near a record low. Don't worry, everyone. We know that we're, kind of fucked, but just stay in there. Just hang in there. Keep working at your desks. Please don't flee us now because then, our collapse is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Credit Suisse is in the throes of what is expected to be a major restructuring of the investment bank as Körner seeks to return the lender to profitability and put an end to a string of scandals. Good luck with that. Deutsche Bank has the same problem. See, the problem is that if these banks have larger issues, they are evaluated in the multi-trillions of dollars range. And there was a quip earlier that I read about this. Have you heard the term too big to fail? It was used during the dawn of the Great Recession to refer to banks and automotive manufacturers in the United States where you couldn't let them fail because too many people would become unemployed. Too many problems would happen with the supply and demand, lending, mortgages, et cetera, on the banking end. Of course, cars and parts on the other end. And so you had to use taxpayer money to bail out the corporations and the supposedly private banks. It was pig in a pokerism. We should have let them go belly up and then restructure. It would have been much more pain short term and much less long term, and we would have climbed out of that recession several years earlier. That's my position. However, there's a problem. These two banks are so large collectively that if they were to go belly up, they are too big to fail, but they are also too big to bail. They are so evaluated, they have so much wealth and so many holdings that if they go into a downward spiral, you might not be able to afford to actually bring them up back out of that spiral, causing a Great Depression. Just to be clear about where we're headed in the world economically. Nick Severin Sticks, when exactly did Trump enact red flag laws? He didn't. However, he did support the basic notion with the take the guns first, due process second quote specifically. That was one of the main gaffes that I criticized Trump about during his presidency. Michael Cricklow, should I be investing in guns and ammo? Yeah, you should. I hope you already have one. Sparky, Sticks, do you think that Putin means all the Five Eyes when he uses the term Anglo-Saxons, not just the US and UK? Yes, I think that it was mainly a reference to the United States and his belief that the U.S. blew the pipeline. It's entirely possible. But again, Russia doesn't have any more proof of the U.S. doing it than the U.S. does of Russia doing it. So I remain agnostic. I'm sure that 40 or 50 years from now, we'll find out assuredly who did it. Probably not anytime soon. Aaron C., I'm sure you've seen the narrative as well. I'm getting sick of the line, we are already in World War III. Yeah, not quite, but we're on the eve of destruction, so plan accordingly. Get some extra canned goods, have some extra bags of rice. I mean, eventually they'll glow in the dark due to the radiation. You can find them in the dark, and maybe they'll even cook themselves. Not a banned account. With the bad economy, will EU go martial law? I don't think so. Considering how laissez-faire it was here, even during the so-called lockdowns for COVID, no, at least here in the Netherlands, I can't imagine the government. I mean, the people would probably, revolt against the government if they tried. So, Europeans like to riot and protest, especially after their team loses or wins the soccer game. Oh, wait, football. Sorry. I'm in the wrong continent. Wolf Better, any predictions on the Brazilian elections? I have no clue what's going to go on there, but I imagine the end result will be messy. Gorgeous Mayhem, Jessica Burbank's main position was that she knows better than the working class because she went to Brown and people shouldn't have a choice. Partially true, yeah. She doesn't necessarily look down on people. I don't claim that. But she definitely talked down to them. We've got quotes. The debate's still up. People can look at it for themselves. It was clipped out by the Sticks Clips channel on Twitter. Lev Polyakov, one more super to celebrate the rapid growth of the Roman chamomile. Also, I do appreciate Jessica actually coming on. Cenk or Hassan in the future, perhaps? I would love to debate Cenk Uygur. That would be very, very funny. His incoherent bellowing would please me greatly. I would probably end up devolving into petty insults, though, and eventually he would disconnect in a huff, though. Yeah, I'm glad that she came on. I just wish that we would have had a more meaningful debate than me listening to a 12-minute monologue before I was able to get a word in edgewise. That's the only problem. Sparky, Russia uses father of all bombs and hypersonic missiles with conventional warheads. No need for tactical nukes anymore. Exactly. They got thermobarics. What the fuck are they going to deploy a tactical nuke for? R. Valera. Chances that last NRO launch was satellite weapon used to punch hole in Nord Stream. Very low, because you wouldn't need that. You just need to get a boat out there and send a drone down with a charge. Viking Woman 1988, these live streams keep me sane. So can Pixel Planet, where, by the way, Ataturk has mostly disappeared already. Keep pixeling in. We're going to sink all of Turkey again. That's what I'm talking about. We need more clankers, though. It's Sunday Fun Day. Come on, get aboard. Have some fun. I'll pixel some shit in right now. Basically, you pick a color, and then you drop a pixel, and then you do it again. There is a cooldown timer, of course, at the top of the screen, you may have noticed. It is fun to do in between tasks. Like earlier, I was editing, and I had this open on the side. So I would edit a few paragraphs, go over, takes me 60 seconds to do that, pixel some things in, go back to editing. For someone like me with massive ADHD, I have difficulty doing one task for long periods of time. It's even difficult for me to keep my mind straight for these live streams at times. It really does help. It's actually helpful for my work. Thank you, Pixel Planet. And hello to all of you in Pixel Planet chat. I expect all of you other people being invaded by Turkey to continue helping out. It's going to be necessary. They will probably stream later and undo a great deal of what we're doing right now. But it doesn't matter because it's a game where you fucking pixel things in and Aaron treats it like it's a military campaign. I found that very, very cringy when he put on his Ataturk hat the last night. That was hilarious. And nobody. Last thing we need is a banking crisis. You'd best want a banking crisis. You're in one. I have a feeling that things are going to get dicey. Lev Polyakov, shout out to Sparky and the Grizzly. Not a banned account. Birth rate's low in the United States. How long? For why? Well, people don't want to have kids because some of them are demoralized. Some of them are too poor, they think, to afford a kid. And other people just naturally, they're not interested in it. And that's the reason why. And also, I think that people, their sex drives, if they're urbanites, are going down anyway because they're constantly exposed to sex pheromones. Simple biological response. Makes sense. Cold Summer 91, do you think Ireland will unify soon? No, I don't think that the Northern Irish really want to unify with the rest of Ireland. It seems like, I think that schism's permanent. Sparky, Bolsonaro and Lula are both on Russia's side. Yeah, Lula for economic reasons and Bolsonaro a little bit more vaguely for others. He got along with Trump, though. It's Biden that's pissing him off. Biden's also pissing off the Mexican government on a constant basis, which is very funny because I always heard that Trump hated Hispanic people and he didn't understand diplomacy and all of these things, but he got along there with their president down in Mexico. He had no problems with him. It's Biden that's screwing up that relationship. Gristle lumps. Wow, you can't even say the word fart in a super chat. That's odd. I didn't know that. Yeah, apparently they're heavily censored or something like that. You'll have to use language creoles. Not a bad account. What happened to Catalonia independence? That movement seems to have petered out over time, but I'm sure the next time that Catalonia wins a really great soccer match, there'll be riots, and then all of a sudden, Catalonian flags will be flying through the streets, and they'll demand independence again. I'm agnostic on the idea of Catalonian independence, because on one hand, there is a different subculture and historical precedent. On the other hand, the balkanization of countries usually is not good for any of the parties that it is balkanized into. I can't imagine that it would be good for Catalonia or for Spain proper. So I guess I remain agnostic. I guess we wait and see. Let the best man win with regards to that. Who can riot in the streets more? Who is better at football? That'll be the way in which that question is answered. Yeah, I don't know who's spamming a bunch of unrelated pixels in the middle of what used to be Ataturk, but you should just use the light blue ones because anything else and you're just pixeling over something that has already been pixeled. And then you're reducing efficiency. Clankdom needs greater organization. Oddly enough, I think that the chaotic non-organization of Clankdom is actually a virtue and a benefit. Yeah, I'm looking at several chats at the same time. I see that some people over there are very salty about us returning to war with Turkey. Again, let me inform the people on Pixel Planet, 5 or 6 of you are probably watching this right now, about the timeline of events. I'm just going to mouth off. I got through the news, so I got a minute here to just unload. Clankdom is based in Africa on Pixel Planet server. We have nothing to do with Europe. We decided to help the Greeks because some rogue Turks decided to cross the border and start pixeling things in. We thought they could use some help. We did not cross into Turkey initially. We just drove them back out of Greek land and we left. I went back to attacking the Fibonaccis in Africa. Come back the next day. Turkish players have done the same thing. This time we pushed them back and then we pushed them all the way to the edge of what's now Istanbul. Pushed them out of the European continent back into the core of Turkey. I got a message from the leader of the Turkish faction, effectively saying, you know, whoa, we've got a peace agreement with Greece. Please stop. You know, that was rogue players. I'm sorry, I can't control them. I said, okay, that's fine. I figured he would be able to constrain the situation along with the Greek people that are on the server. And it didn't work. Then they pushed even harder into Greece. So now we started to clear out Constantinople and the coastal Aegean region. And then we left again, and it happened again. So then I said, fuck it. We took over literally all of Turkey over the course of several days. To be clear, Clankdom held the entirety of that territory. Then we left again, figuring, well, finally, Kurdistan is complete, Georgia, Armenia, all of these others, Greece is repaired. We've taken over the whole of Turkey. I mean, at some point, people are going to get the message that you're not capable of defeating us. And once again, now they contacted a bunch of fucking lame-ass TikTok streamers, and then they started rebuilding. And so then we started sinking Turkey, which we're doing now again. And I'm going to keep fucking doing it until Turkey's gone, by the way. There will be no more Turkey on the Pixel Planet server. So now we're here. It's like with the Fibonaccis. Some people were blaming me as though I had ordered some sort of attack on them. That's not true. They were already invading Clankdom. It's out of principle at this point. And it's fun. I get to do this in between doing other things. Of course, I can't do that when I'm cooking or something like that. So yeah, all of you people, definitely make sure to take the link in the description or at the top of chat on YouTube. We still need more clankers. We have destroyed Ataturk, but we need to make that pond, or well, now it's more of an inland sea, into a gaping hole in the entirety of Anatolia. We're going to make a giant ocean. Pretty soon, the Mediterranean and the Black Sea will be the same thing, just to be clear. We're just going to go all in. Don't even bother doing anything else like defending artwork or anything, because Turks are just going to grief it. Aaron will probably come online later, or maybe that other Turkish streamer with a smaller audience. Not sure. The 666 o'clock news. Toothpaste will fill the holes in your wall nicely and add a sweet minty fresh waft to your room. Yeah, but it gives the room character. Yeah, don't head east to the crescent moon quite yet. Just keep making that hole bigger as they struggle to repair it. They will eventually, the problem is that eventually some of the players will give up. So will probably their streamers at some point. The difference is, of course, I stream every day. I don't stream once a week, and I can throw those links in the description into literally every video that I make if I want to, compounding the damage even further. I haven't even begun to fight. Aaron declared victory in a bizarre way the other day. By the way, how many people are actually watching? Got almost 4,200 people watching live cross-platform. Again, I must admit, I have not decided what to make for dinner tonight. Very sad times. Also, you have to deal with CAPTCHA, but I don't really like having to do that. Again, I would like to broadcast this live so that people can see the interaction in live time. I'd love to do that, but there's so many swastikas and N-word references as well everywhere and things like that, and anime, titties and stuff. I'm sure that I would get banned if I were to actually do that. Apparently, Turkish grift streamers are not held to the same standard. I mean, I've got to imagine somebody has flagged the fucking streams because, there's giant swastikas covering half of Europe and shit like that. Dreeds, do we have an overpopulation problem? Not evenly, not in all parts of the world. There are parts of the world that are desperately overpopulated. Look at Bangladesh, for example. The resources that we have are not capable of continuously sustaining the world population. That being said, some people are using that as an opportunity to say, hey, well, just don't have any kids at all. Yeah, let's collapse the world population. That'll lead to great things. Hey, live in the pod. Oh, we'll just make do with less. Well, you don't need to do that. You just need to let nature take its course. Biology is already reducing birth rates throughout most of the developed world. Problem will solve itself. Don't worry too much about it. All you got to do is get rid of limitless immigration. Stop pumping the population that's lowering because of biology, and you don't have a problem anymore. Sparky, my brother knew Ambassador Stevens. He was pro-Pan-Africa movement. I think that's why the U.S. didn't save Stevens. Will Clank Nation take up where Libya left off and push the Pan-Africa movement? Well, Africa is ours on Pixel Planet. Right now, though, we're just griefing Turkey. Ataturk is gone. There's that thing to the left, like some sort of a seal. It's got a helmet and wings and a couple of swords. You can flood that too, and then it'll become a big inland pool. That'll be funny. Aaron's reaction later, I'm sure, will be quite amusing. It'll probably be another grief stream, rambling about me and making shitty memes. I've probably got a bunch of people from the Ottoman Empire messaging me on Twitter by now, too. I'll check. Let's see. No, surprisingly, not yet. By the way, to Paige, who sent me a recipe idea, I actually cannot eat walnuts. I am allergic to them, possibly. I sometimes seem to be able to eat them, but then one time I had a salad that had chopped walnuts in it, and it made my tongue feel like stiff and sort of bloated, like it felt fat and hurty. Not for very long, but I figured there's only one ingredient in here that could be causing this reaction. Maybe I should probably not tempt fate. Anyway, I don't like walnuts as much anyway. Almonds are where it's at. Almonds and macadamias. Eyes wide open are yours. I get to serve again as a firefighter paramedic again this week. Long rehab. Amber Emily, does Pixel Planet ever finalize and reset? I don't know that there's ever been a reset on Pixel Planet. I'm not sure. I was absent from it for more than a year there. People rambling about the moderators doing a bad job by not imposing more rules. I like the lawlessness. The fact that there's a bunch of griefing on the platform makes it more fun. Minecraft was way more fun when it was all about finding someone's shack out in the wilderness and burning it to the ground than when they put 10,000 plugins into the game. Not a banned account. Puerto Rican statehood for United States when? I agree with Puerto Rican statehood. Puerto Rico is roughly the same size as Connecticut with roughly the same population. And if it were fully incepted, I think it would be a good thing for the United States overall. The people there are already American citizens, by the way. Some people are like, no, it'll become a Dem state. Puerto Ricans can already go wherever they want within the U.S. They're already citizens. So what's the difference? Other than you've absorbed the island and you can keep it fiscally solvent, make sure that it has a proper state constitution. No more super chats, by the way, please. Cross-platform. I got a few to get to here. Trip Boom, Rumble exclusive Pixel live stream. I've thought about it. Yeah, I could do that. I bet we could fucking do some damage. There's over 1,000 people watching live. That's pretty good. The Sinister Siblings playing War Thunder right now. The durability of these German battleships is pissing me off. Apache Senpai, I've been wanting to quit my job and go to Japan and do an English teacher thing. However, the potential for World War III makes it seem like a bad idea at the moment. Wish all of this would calm down so I can live life. Well, I mean, if there's a nuclear war, what difference does it make whether you're in the US or whatever or in Japan? Just make sure not to be in Tokyo. That'd be a target. I don't think any other city in Japan would be likely to get hit. The Chinese would be saving their missiles for Taiwan, I think. Anyway, I think that I'm going to go offline. I will think about doing a Rumble Pixel Planet live stream at some point. We'll see how much manpower we can muster if it's just a single issue sort of stream. Sparky, the Gray Zone is great to watch for geopolitics. Sounds good. Rainy Day Tiny Films. Do not eat anything that makes your tongue feel like that. I just lost a family member to a plum. They're allergic to plums? Yeah, I mean, I know I'm not allergic to apple, and I know I'm not allergic to raspberry, which is what the sauce was based off of. I'm not allergic to any of the greens because I eat salad, you know, with the same composition with other things on it. So it had to be the walnuts. And so now I don't eat walnuts. Let me chug a shot of walnut oil on a live stream sometime. You'll get to watch me turn purple. You'll get to watch me turn blue just like Ataturk has over the course of the last hour. Fun times. Keep pixeling it in, though, everyone. I'll be doing more damage later. We'll spread out to that little... I don't know what you'd call it, the emblem right to the side of the giant round blue pool there. And we'll pixel that into and combine them. And then we can go swimming, which is apparently some sort of meme that the Turkish people on the server use for Greeks. They talk about making the Greeks swim or something. I don't know what it refers to. Probably some battle or something. Maybe they made people walk the plank. Not a banned account. Do demons as Stolas desire shrines in their honor? No, they do not. They'd be pointless. One tall order. Not sure if you missed it or YouTube censored my tactical pistol recommendation, LMAO. I think it got censored. My apologies. So yeah, I'm going to go off now. And yeah, I'll keep pixeling in for some time. That's about all. Peace out.